Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zoom Into Wine. It's time for the show and your host, Ian Blackburn.
All right, good evening. Hope everybody's doing all right. Looking forward to talking with you this evening about one of my all-time favorite wines, and certainly a favorite wine around our wine store, the Merchant of Wine. We're going to be talking tonight about Chenin Blanc. Chenin Blanc has been long misunderstood. It usually finishes pretty far down the list of favorite grape varieties. But I think that the pandemic and the drinking at home all day and the warm weather of California and many other factors have led Chenin Blanc to the top of people's drinking list. And it should be, honestly. It's just a really special grape variety that has many different interfaces, and we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about the grape, its history, and how it has multiple facings in different environments, different parts of the world. We're going to get started tonight by looking at Chenin Blanc from some of the different origins. We're going to start in South Africa, in fact. But usually when we talk about the grape variety, we're talking about its original origin, the Loire Valley of France. And it's kind of carried around the world and kind of represents the country that it's now grown in a different manner. I think stylistically the biggest factor is that in the Loire Valley, where there's many different origins, such as Vouvray is a classic, place where people think of Chenin Blanc, but what style of Chenin Blanc are we talking about? Dry, semi-sweet, off-dry, very sweet? And there's so many different little opportunities for Chenin Blanc. We're going to taste two of them from the Loire Valley tonight, one from Santa Barbara and one from South Africa. So really excited to get you involved. Come on in and let's take a look. The DNA analysis on Chenin Blanc, and they do this for a lot of the grape varieties, it has a relationship with Savigny from the Jura. And every time I look at one of these research articles, there's some sort of DNA research out of the Jura that leads it to a more obscure variety. But Chenin Blanc shares its sibling relationship with Trousseau and Sauvignon Blanc. Both are, kind of the parent grape varieties of a lot of other grape varieties as well. And so this grape variety has kind of an origin. It's not necessarily something that's just recently come into fashion. It's been around for a long time. A very deep relationship with the history of wine. So let's continue. We're going to go down to South Africa and take a look at Backsburg as our first wine. This is a wine we have actually tasted with Simon Back and the group of Backsburg before. We have many different wines from the Backsburg farming family. They have really high ethos in their farming practices, very sustainable, very natural path. B, the value proposition of wines from South Africa is really hard to compete with. So we not only have the Chenin, but we also have the Pinotage. We even have a Pinotage Rosé, and we have their Cape Classique, which is basically their sparkling wine, and it's really fantastic. And it's also kosher, which is interesting. It's one of the only great kosher sparklings that I know of outside of France. So let's take a look at South Africa, where the grape and the wine is often referred to as steen. This is a Afrikaans. Talk about the great wines of South Africa. We tend to start around Cape Town, which is on the lower southwest corner, and really an amazing theater for wine. And then it kind of fans out along the coasts into different routes. This country's really become synonymous with organics and biodynamics. There's a lot of industry leaders here, and they've got a lot of challenges in making wine, such as overcoming a lot of the past perceptions of what South African wines are like. I think a lot of people find South African wines when they get to the bottom of the barrel and there's the cheapest wine in the planet, and there it is from South Africa. But that's not because the wine's bad. It's because the dollar versus their currency, which is known as the rand, keeps their wine at an incredible value. On the flip side, it's also difficult to sell their really high-end wines because people are like, what? A wine from South Africa that's $50? Are you kidding me? So we're going to try to work on that perception in a very big way. Next month, we're doing an event called Stars of South African Wine, and we're going to have 6 winemakers on our Zoom. And I would say I handpicked all 6 of these wineries. They are top wines from South Africa, and we're going to really see some of the best in action, learn their story, get to see the family, Zoom with them. It's going to be really cool. So put that on your calendar in later August. It's Stars of South African Wine. I'll pull up the date a little bit later, but I think it's August 24th. It's a Wednesday. So that's coming down the pipe. Anyway, let's take a look at some more slides here. Chenin Blanc, this is what it looks like when it grows in South Africa. Of course, South Africa's got weather that's much like our weather here in sunny Southern California. Beautiful, warm, long growing seasons. But they also got like one foot in the old world with amazing acidity and structure in their wine. So as you're tasting this Backsburg, I'd love for you to smell that sunshine, but also feel that really good balance, that really good acidity that keeps this wine in check. This is a wine that's, very affordable and can be used at any point in time. This wine is stylistically off dry, but just barely. We're talking about just a hint of residual sugar. Of course, dry in American wine typically means around 8 grams. When we start talking about champagne, it's anything less than 12 grams. That would be considered brut. And so in this Chenin Blanc, they like just a little bit of residual to offset some of that amazing acid structure. It's kind of like, I use the example all the time. Lemonade without sugar isn't so good, but a little bit of sweetness helps bring that into balance. And Chenin Blanc really can be assisted with just a little bit of ripeness, a little bit of residual. I also love them bone dry, and we're going to try one today that may be borderline bone dry and compare, but this is just supposed to be fun. I will say cheap and cheerful, but it's not quite that cheap. It's around $15 a bottle, a great deal for the daily consumption. And here's the leadership of the family ownership. They work really hard to farm this land as natural as possible. They have a lot of involvement in the improvement of the social culture of South Africa too, because there's such a great divide between the haves and the have-nots. So they're really involved in improving that, as well as in providing education and healthcare for their staff, something a lot of wineries don't get involved in, but these guys do. Here's a nice picturesque look at Simon sitting on top of his Defender, looking out over this ecosystem that's very self-sustaining, and they're very proud of their ranch. I'm going to taste both this wine and the Foxen side by side. We'll do a little compare and contrast after I talk through the Foxen. You at home or anyone that's drinking some wine with me out there, just continue to enjoy. I love questions in the chat box if you have any. But Foxen, we've had Dick Doré and his wife on our Zoom multiple times over the past couple of months. This is a leading brand out of Santa Barbara, and they make their Chenin from an older vineyard called the Wilkening Vineyard. It's been a part of their program for many, many years, and this is part of the Santa Maria AVA, the American Viticultural Area, AVA, Santa Maria, northern part of Santa Barbara, but still very close to the coast, because this is one of the only places in California anyway that has mountain ranges that run east to west. So it keeps all the areas at different temperatures because of those mountain ranges and those extremes. One of the cooler growing environments in California. And this guy's got started in 1985. If you've ever been to the old Foxen location, it was a really rustic, charming, kind of rusty old metal barn, and it was actually kind of repurposed to become a winery. And so they built up their reputation around this kind of out in the middle of nowhere location. But the grapes came from really good vineyard sources, and they've always had a knack for picking great vineyard partners. And they've been doing it long enough, before Santa Barbara was such a big deal, that they certainly got their game going in a really good direction. They have very good following. They're very consistent. Chard, Pinot, Chenin. They've even dabbled with some Cabernet and some other red varietals, but really staying pretty true to those three major wines. That's Chard, Chenin, and Pinot. Now they've built a brand new state-of-the-art facility for the next, the future generations, and their kids are very involved in the process. So they actually have two facilities. One was closed during the COVID period. And so if you wanted to taste Foxen, you had to come to the main winery. But I do think they have intentions of opening them both up as soon as business can allow that. But here's Dick and his partner from 1985 till now. That's a great run. Most businesses don't run for 40 years under the same owner, leadership. And these guys are still going and still very much involved. And Dick is just super supportive of our program. And I will say, I think in the world of California Chenin Blanc, you might have 3 or 4 that are really iconic. And this is one of them. Foxen. Tonight we're drinking the 2019 Ernesto Wickenden Vineyard. Now, as I said, we're going to stop and pause for a second, take a look at these two wines kind of side by side. I've got my little Corvin here. I'm going to get some Baxberg in my glass. Lisa, I saw you drinking. Are you drinking some Chenin tonight?
I am on Foxen, and it's quite lovely. Although I should have the other one. I bought both, so I could have done that. But the Foxen is lovely.
Yeah, they do a great job. And, what I would describe this style as just so slightly off dry. And I think they consider it dry. But there's just enough residual there to make it enjoyable with some pleasure. It's not there
it's lovely.
Sear your palate. And with the Baxberg, we're looking at just slightly off dry. Now, the typical nose of Chenin Blanc, you're going to have those characteristics like lanolin, kind of a sheepy. How about that? Kind of a nice wool sweater, kind of a smell in the nose, and complemented by a little bit of honey. Slightly floral note, and then depending on the style and also of course its ripeness level, you might start smelling more exotic riper notes. But here in South Africa, very clean, very pure. A little bit of lemon lime as well. Some of that sheep's milk cheese, a little bit of that honey. Really great texture. Isn't the texture really cool about Chenin Blanc? It's got kind of that, as you bite down, you press down, you get kind of this oiliness in the mouth. That's really a hallmark of Chenin Blanc, is that textural thing. And if they get too inexpensive, you can lose that and it can become really blasé white wine. In fact, we used to do that to Chenin Blanc here in California and put it into jug wines like Chablis. And this wine just really was kind of, the Rodney Dangerfield of white wines for way too long. Didn't get any respect. And here, I think it's really starting to say, wow, as all the great wines of the world are, going north of $50 a bottle. And then you can go to a Chenin Blanc for 20, maybe 15 to 20, 25, 30, 35, and get some world-class stuff. There are some Chenin Blancs that get north of $50 in a hurry. In fact, we just added a couple really good ones to the website. It's that season, the markets are opening up. It's time to start embracing some of the greatness that is wine. And so at Merchant, I'm really trying to put some more extravagant stuff on the website to entice you. I still want to be a great value for you, but I want to show you what we just added. Nicolas Joly makes a Chenin Blanc from a region called Savennières, and we got an allocation in 19. The Great Coulisserant is the really amazing vineyard designation that they have shepherded from biodynamics for I think he got started in the 70s, and so it's now pretty impressive. And he's added a few other wines. So I was able to get the first two onto the website. These are legends. They do carry a pretty good price tag for a bone dry version of Chenin Blanc, and we'll get the $125 version when it arrives in America. But we only get 6 bottles of each. But it's kind of like, as a wine guy, you're like, yes, I got my 6-bottle allocation. I mean, somebody like a big New York retailer might get 50 6-packs because they've been doing business for so long. But we're only a year old, and we're digging and carving, trying to find great wines that are available for us to be able to pick up. And we're working harder on them than a lot of people. And remember, you get 10% off on all of our wines at Merchant of Wine when you get to 12 bottles. And in Los Angeles, we still do free delivery. It's now free delivery on 150, or it's a $10 charge. And we'll deliver anywhere in California for $10. So whether it's 1 bottle or 12, it's $10 delivery in California. All right. Let's go back into our PowerPoint, and we haven't tasted the Foxen wine yet. I don't want to not do that.
How does it age, Ian?
You know, Chenin is a very slow progressor, so that's another thing. You can really take your time. These wines definitely have a lot of stuffing, especially in the higher tier. When this Foxen Chenin Blanc, I've tried them when they're 10 years old, and what starts to really get more interesting is that kind of that sheep's milk, and then the fresh floral nature becomes more dried floral, so you get that kind of sheep milk cheese nose with the honey and the floral. It's just magic. They're really, really special. So I'm about to make room. Wine number 2 from Foxen. I've been a big Foxen fan for a long time, and I got handed to Dick Doré because he's been like the most supportive winemaker on the planet. He shows up to our Zooms, he shows up in person, he comes and just overwhelms me with support. And his whole family is just super cool. So if you ever go to Santa Barbara and you've never been to Foxen before, it's absolutely going to be one of the first 5 places you got to go, because it's like going to visit the White House, the president of wine in Santa Barbara, and the wines are just so damn good. They make wines from so many different vineyards, and they're one of the few people that get invited to make a wine from the Sea Smoke Vineyard. Not very many people get to do that, and Dick Doré does. And his Chardonnays and Pinot Noirs from Bienaceto, he's got the oldest blocks in Bienaceto. Those wines are ridiculous. They're so good. So when we look at the Chenin from the Ernesto Wickenden Vineyard, and then we compare that to the South African nose that had, again, that 1 foot in the old world, 1 foot in the new world. When you smelt that South African wine, you maybe even reminiscent of a dry style of Chenin from the Loire Valley. It has just a little bit more sun in it, though, and that richness and density factor, because the price point, I think, is in place. I think it's got the right amount of weight and concentration, especially for that price point. Then you get into this wine, which is around close to $30 when you hit the Foxen wine, and you get a little bit more sun impression. In fact, I almost get like a tinge of sunburn in the nose, just to look a really neat baked fruit, and you get kind of a orange peel, maybe even toasted orange peel, maybe a little bit of salt air because of their Santa Barbara exposition. You put that in your mouth. Again, there's that palate weight. that richness, that creaminess, that texture. It's kind of oily. And this continues. I'm 15 to 30 seconds. I can still feel it, taste it, and it's drying out in my mouth. It's not cloying. It's just kind of slowly departing. And we're talking pretty dry here. I think it's pretty close to 8 grams. I don't recall it being any less than that, but let me see if we got that note in here. I don't think we do. Just some pictures in the ranch of them picking the Chenin. It's an old vine site, and they're just really fortunate to have this in their arsenal. Yeah, look at that. Santa Barbara old vines. I mean, anybody in Santa Barbara that's got vines that are, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, they can get pretty old there. So let me find my spot. Santa Barbara. Let's go into the Loire Valley. And let's take a look at the Loire Valley as it sits and kind of soak this up for a second. I've been fortunate enough to take a train from Paris. I get off in tours. I rent a car. I go drive around. I've never made it out all the way to the ocean, but that's my next trip. I want to go out to where they make muscadet out here in the green zone. Eat some oysters. Some famous oysters out there. As you start to come into here and you enter into the Chenin area, this green zone here, kind of a lime green, Saumur. Then we head into Chenin, and then we're in Vouvray, and we've got all these little sub appellations in and around that are specialized for making different types of Chenin Blanc, whether it's super sweet like Bonnezeau, or the range of styles that you can find in Vouvray, because you can get dry Vouvray, you can get sweet Vouvray, you can get bubbly Vouvray. One of my favorite parts for Chenin is in Savennières, and we're going to taste 2 different wines from the Loire Valley. The one that's called Le Beaucoup des Filles is technically not a Savennière because it's grown outside of the zone, so it's declassified Savennière, but it's made like Savennière. And this is a really cool vineyard, and I want you to try this wine if you haven't. Lisa, this is really kind of a special find. This is owned by the brand Domaine Amoin. They're a bigger Sauvignon producer, and they make a range of different Chenin Blancs. But this project gets its own label, and super cool, super teeny production, single vineyard, organically farmed, natural wine. They consider natural wine anything, I think it's around 40 parts per million in sulfur. Additional sulfur so low that it's really not being added in a large dose. They want the wine to advance. This is something that Nicolas Joly, like the wines I told you before, he probably doesn't add any additional sulfur, but it's mastered the art of making wines that age for a very long time without additional sulfur. And so they've got this really amazing organic approach, and wines go into natural fermentations, natural yeast. They get racked and they get bottled, keeping it really clean and really simple. And this is a look at the chateau. Here's those old vines and the vineyard and the folks that are doing all the work by hand. There's no machine harvesting here. Everything's got to be a hand sort. And we're gonna taste this right next to the classic Vouvray Sec, which does have a little bit of residual sugar, and we'll compare and contrast these 2 wines. And so when we again look at the map, the wine that we're about to try is in here, and let me just show you how far apart these places are. So here's the wine from Vouvray, and then Savennières is here. Okay, so not too far. It's probably 40 minutes drive. We're right along the Loire Valley River. That river goes from east to west and carries a lot of business across this river, and of course ends up way over here, and continues to satellite out into small little tributaries. But this Sancerre and Puy-Fumé, this is of course Sauvignon Blanc, and then you got Muscadet over here. So these are the big three grape varieties of the Loire Valley, and Chenin kind of takes up the major part right here in the center. This whole block is basically Chenin Blanc, and if they make a red wine, it's probably Cabernet Franc to accent it. Our producer from Vouvray that we're going to try, Domaine Bouteille Soliner, we've tasted with him in our recent Stars of White Wine. We had this wine. He is very much a natural path, trying to be biodynamic. Does not pay for the biodynamic Demeter folks to come and tell him he's biodynamic, but he's doing everything that he can to be biodynamic. And the horse pulling the sled with basically a big giant rake or hoe to turn the soils, and you can see all that natural growth promoting the sustainable ecosystem. They go from one extreme to another in Vouvray. Really cold. The vines go deep into hibernation during the winter. They cut them back before winter, whereas in America, we're going to cut those vineyards back out after winter, because we don't want to have all those exposed cuts in the vine during the winter months that might not even get that cold. So therefore, bacteria can go in there, and all kinds of health issues can wreak havoc in vineyards. But here, just really small. I mean, this is like hard work gardening here. And these old vines, look at how gnarly and cool they are. Small producer, really high quality. And in Vouvray, they can make different sweetness levels. So this one does say sec, which is dry, but how dry is that? So we're going to start off with our Le Beaucoup de Filles. And I'm super excited to taste this because I haven't tasted this bottling yet. But I have put this wine on no fewer than a dozen wine lists in the city of LA. But this is the first time I've tried 19. Oh yeah. When you smell that, it's just like chalky, and it's got this really cool, rocky minerality. They're definitely going for that in this particular bottling. And this is kind of trying to be Sauvignon. I mean, it's made like Sauvignon, but it's just outside of the zone of Sauvignon. And so they have to declassify it to wine of France. And so it's not even, listed as Sauvignon, but they make this extra natural path so they can sell it as natural wine. And it's got all that minerality, that sheep's cheese kind of thing, just a little bit of it, nothing too woolly, but it's definitely got that lanolin note. And then the really soft kind of quince paste, maybe pomme de terre, like an apple tart or a pear tart, kind of a baked fruit. And then that little bit of a honey glaze, just that kiss of honey. That's where it gets me. Right in the nose, right in the mouth. That sizzle, that clean, that slate clean, this is where wine is kind of subjective. And for some people, maybe they want a little bit more like gregarious, slap you in the face, give me the flavor. And when I taste so much wine that I want very little, I want it to like pull me into the glass and let me feel the energy in this wine. subtlety, the way this is made. It's just so cool, and I love this wine. I actually, as foodie as this wine is, this is what I like to sip. This is what I like to smell. This is what I like to just, nosh on. I'll sit, and a little glass like this will last me for a long time, because I will just keep smelling it and putting just a teeny bit in my mouth and just feeling that cleanliness hit my palate. Of course, I could drink a whole bottle over a meal too if you were dining with me, but we're going to move now into that Vouvray and compare it, because we're just, about 45 minutes away. Damn, that's good. We've got a group down in San Diego at an undisclosed location where they're supposedly not even supposed to have wine with them, but they are on the Zoom with us, and they may or may not have bottles of these wines in and around their facility, and they're watching the Zoom. I want to thank them for joining us. Lauren, you've always been so supportive of our program, so I hope you guys are enjoying. And you guys can get bottles delivered to wherever you are as well. zoomintowine.com. Order the bottle kit or the tasting kit. We still break out the tastings into the small pours. The government hasn't said we can't do that yet, but they are talking about it. I want to let you know. So we might need to license up to get the permission to be able to do that at some point in the future. So when we go to the Vouvray, which is really, really an important part of the whole Chenin Blanc story, is the history of Vouvray. And we get this really intense layer of limestone down in Vouvray, right along the river. And there's other types of rocky minerality in that in the wine that we had to call Wine of France. It's right outside of Savennières. But in Vouvray, it's purely a limestone expression. I mean, it's all limestone. Limestone is basically fossilized small particles from the ocean that millions of years ago covered the planet, and in certain parts created thicker layers of limestone. Some parts didn't get it because it just went down the hill, whatever. But the Loire Valley is just carved out of limestone. In fact, if you go to Vouvray and you're walking through the city and you walk up to the river, you look across the river, you'll see people living in caves that they carved out of limestone. And these are $1 million caves, like big homes with glass windows and balconies. And we're not talking about cavemen. We're talking about, park their beautiful cars there. There's a lot of valleys where the very wealthy once called home in France, and the mega mansions with 100 hectare English gardens and 100-bedroom homes from the 1700s. Of course, all of them lost their heads in 1783, but they built these magnificent places. They're all protected by the heritage organizations, and some of them are being rehabilitated and restored. Some of them are already there. It's a beautiful place to visit, the Loire Valley. But Vouvray has like a million different personalities. This producer is all about his small stake of trying to be a major brand, establishing himself. He's got a good little French importer. It's a really small property, though. They're never going to be major. They just want to make good wine. And I can offer this wine at a bit of an over deal right now. I think it's like around $20 a bottle for this Vouvray. This is single vineyard, organic, farmer grown, just really natural path. It does say sec on the label, but here, this wine is got way more residual sugar than the wine from Savennières. They're both dry, but this one's, you can feel that perception, that added hedonistic pleasure dollop ripe fruit and unresolved residual sugars that only take it to maybe 8 or 9 grams. Whereas the wine from Sauvignon is probably down around 4 or 5, and just you feel like you've just licked a rock. And this one's just got that added plushness. Questions, Lisa? Setsuko?
I was trying to look up what the wine caves look like, and I was thinking about what I wanted to buy, and
it's pretty cool. I gotta say, the people of the Loire Valley tend to be, there's kind of an artsy mood there, and I think there's a lot of artists that live there, right on the water. It's not really like a water sport type of culture at all. The river is just not built for that. But the people there, they've got a lot of international visitors. It's a very friendly place to get in and get out. There's a good amount of value there. It's certainly not as expensive as, say, Paris. Certainly not as expensive as Burgundy or Bordeaux, but really, really fun. Yeah, Setsuko was talking about how she tasted some Chenin from South Africa and mistook it for Chablis. And there's certainly a style that's possible there where it's so bone dry that you can have that. I love the wines of South Africa, that they tend to have kind of that little bit of a saltiness, a little bit of that fresh ocean air influence, that cool marine air kind of character. Whereas the Loire Valley is really leaning into the rocky minerality. South Africa's playing in a little bit heavier hand with their weather and the sun, and they don't have quite that range of ripeness that they have up in the Loire Valley, because they can make dessert wine, even botrycized Chenin Blanc, with some of the really ripe styles that they can achieve there. And down in South Africa, they do make a few dessert wines, but I'm not sure how successful they are every year at getting botrytis. And so some of them might be either raisin or overripe or late harvest. But I believe that it's a little difficult to get the botrytis down there. I'm not going to say that they don't do it, but it's not their famous first foot forward. Lauren, I want to know you're out there. Did you get on? Because I can see your iPad touch, but I can't hear you guys. I hope you guys could hear me. And if not, I'll get you this video and we'll make sure you see it. It lives on our website, Zoom Into Wine. And I'm going to open that up right now and just talk to you about what we have coming.
Yeah, these homes are just so fascinating.
Yeah, aren't they? The ones in the caves?
Yeah, that's what I sidetracked from the wine, looking at these homes. But you have some really nice new wines on the website. There's a couple there's one that's already sold out. I was looking.
Which one?
Hang on, let me look, because that's what happens. I jump on these and then I start looking about what I want.
Sometimes they say sold out and we haven't put the inventory in there yet. So
which one? It was one. Well, you've got that. That's a great deal on that champagne. That Vineyard is phenomenal. And you have the Pinot.
Be careful though. That might be the half bottle price you're looking at.
Oh, of course, probably.
Yeah.
You had, I think, was it Pardo? You had a Pinot that was just that said it was sold out. That had a 97 or something point rating.
Oh yes, our Argo. We're waiting to see if we can get some more.
Yes, that's one I was.
That went really well. I got to tell you, the Argo Pinot Noir is just really, really good, and the bastard tongues on our website is pretty hard to get, because I've been a friend of.
Yeah, I just glanced at that. I need to organize my wine. That was all my. I didn't do that yet, but I now need to organize what I have, because I don't know what I have anymore.
I hear you. Well, we from this event forward, we go this weekend with Stars of Pinot, and if you haven't yet joined us, it's not too late. We're still building the audience for Saturday and Sunday. The wine list that we've pulled together for the 4 events is really the best wine list that we've ever accomplished with Stars of Pinot. And every week we've got just a really good balance of producers from New Zealand, Oregon, Santa Barbara, Sonoma Coast, and Burgundy. And so we're going to have a really awesome gathering of some top wines, and all the wines are in our store now at Merchant of Wine. So really, really cool. Some super small producers I can't wait to introduce you to, and then some legends as well. So really a fun mixture, and I think it's just going to be a super gathering. We are going to start next week. We're going to announce some live events in Santa Monica, Lisa. We're going to start doing some tasting. We're going to do a champagne tasting in August in Santa Monica, and we're working on how to announce that. I'm going to announce it before I even know what the champagnes are, because it's coming fast. But we just found and we're kind of reaching out saying, hey, if you're a small business and you want to host a wine class or a wine event inside of your business, we need location. And a lot of our restaurant partners that we've used for years, they're still struggling trying to get open. And so we're working with this location that's an art location. They kind of do painting classes and different types of art classes in this location. And so we're going to bring our wine audience in there, and maybe you'll want to sign up for a painting class or an art class. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for partners that we can benefit and also have a really good space for us to use. And quite honestly, the space is awesome. They've got these big, beautiful tables we can all sit at, and it'll just be a really fun location for us to do a few programs a month. And so we're looking for more locations like that. If you have any friends that have businesses and they're trying to get their brand out there and struggling to do it, we can bring a really nice audience with our wine group there. In our upcoming classes, Bob Blummer, Chef Bob Blummer, just super guy. He just got finished filming his first film up in Canada, and he's going to tell us all about that experience. And we're going to talk about these great white wines of summer, and we're going to pair each one with salmon, and we've got a different recipe. If you click here, you can see here it is right here. Click here for the recipes, and you'll be able to cook along with Bob. And if you've never seen him cook before, when he did our Thanksgiving event, he cooked Thanksgiving dinner in like 5 minutes, and he showed us how to do it. And it was truly fun to watch him do. He'll be cooking salmon, and then he's got some different sauce recipes: 1 minute herb sauce, honey ginger sesame, miso butter, and Meyer lemon. And we're going to talk about each of the wines and how they pair with each sauce, and why we would pair each sauce or each wine with each sauce. So we're going to listen to his ideas there. I put some really fun wines together for that gathering. Summer Whites with Bob Blummer. We're going to be doing a little fun kind of retrospective tasting of different Spanish wine finds that I have on the website right now. There's not a slouch in the group. And I will tell you, a lot of these wines are below $20. You know, this Albarino, this one's around $25 for this magnificent Gadelo. We're going to go taste the Cune Rioja Crianza. It's like $15, 93 points, James Suckling. We're going to go taste this really killer teeny producer called Venus La Universal. Just absolutely killer packaging too. And this is a Monsant done in with the biodynamics at the top of the mountains, and just really, really cool stuff. And we're going to taste one of my favorite all-time producers on Tempranillo, Emilio Moro. And we've got this super wine from them called La Felicia, and 94-point wine that sells for about $70 a bottle. You can taste the entire lineup with me for $25. Join me for $25 It's $25 to taste this flight. I want you to get involved. We're going to work really hard to keep our Zoom audience coming back, and I want you to tell your friends. $25 to taste these wines. So that's something fun to look forward to. And then we'll finish up by talking about what I'm doing at the Hollywood Bowl. You know, I love the Hollywood Bowl. I buy tickets just like everybody else does, and I try to get all my friends to come with me, and we get a big group. I don't care if it's Yo-Yo Ma or Christina Aguilera. All the shows are really fun. Christina Aguilera is going to be backed up by the Hollywood Bowl band, and so I've got this block of tickets. You buy the ticket from me, which is less than buying it from a scalper, and it includes a champagne welcome. And we get up to the seats, and you can bring wine if you want. Watch the show. Bring a couple wine glasses. They have a little store there. You can buy some wine in the bowl as well. This show is actually organized by the bowl, so when it's a bowl show, you can bring your wine. You can bring your picnic. And we're going to meet down in the picnic benches before the show, and then you can head up, or you can just blow me off and meet me at the seats. But I'll email you your seats. It's 2 tickets for $175, and we're all in the same section. And yeah, I'd love to have you guys join me. That's the Hollywood Bowl. I got 2 shows. Like I'm doing that with the Hollywood Bowl, and the Bowl isn't involved at all in sanctioning me or anything like that. But they haven't told me I can't do what I'm doing either. So I tend to do things that way. Lisa, just an update. Piedmont is coming along really well. We are going to Piedmont, and the trip is pretty much close to sold out. We've got a couple people say they're going to send us the deposit. We're watching what's happening with COVID. We've extended the deadline with everybody until August 1st. But the trip is as planned. And let me see, that's on learnaboutwine.com. You're going to go to our live event page, and then you'll see the trip to Piedmont. And next week we'll hopefully announce the extension into Tuscany as well. So I think you've been to Tuscany maybe too many times there, Lisa, but we'll be spending that whole week in Piedmont, and then taking a weekend off, and then meeting another group in Tuscany if we're lucky. And we take 10 people, so they're not big groups. We want to be able to have fun and everybody kind of enjoy each other. You're gonna love all the people that have signed up. I know everybody that's coming, Lisa. Really good people, sorted personality. Some of them you've met on the Zooms before. We'll go truffle hunting. We'll do hazelnuts. Of course, Barolo is what it's all about. And these are the producers we're intending to see. We're staying at a really cool little hotel, family owned and operated, great food, really comfortable, and it's just a really special place. We'll stay in La Mora. Be able to walk up the street to a bunch of different restaurants. We keep the price really affordable because there's a couple of nights where it's dinner on your own. You can join me, or you can go on your own, or you can camp in your hotel room, whatever you want to do. But a few nights we'll go out and live large. And the nights that we're off, we'll probably live even larger, because we'll go and just buy whatever wines we want on the wine list, and we'll just split up the bill with whoever wants to join us. And these restaurants have, super deep cellars. The one little cafe I go to probably has 1,000 different Barolos on the wine list, or at least they did pre-COVID. We'll see what it's like now.
Oh my God, I can't. It's so funny because I always travel and I never do something like this. So this is so out of my wheelhouse to be organized. And on the other side, for July, because I take Italian classes, I was doing makeups. I should be an Italian tonight. I've been taking Italian. I've had already 6 hours of Italian since Sunday.
You'll be ready to flow.
Well, one hope.
I'm going to sit next to you, Lisa, because when I'm in Italy for a couple of days, I can really start to pretend to speak Italian.
Well, let's hope, right? Let's hope.
I get my way around the wine list pretty well, and then start to understand some of the keywords.
I know the importance. Voglio un bicchiere di vino. Ai, rosso bianco. Sì.
Yeah, my problem is I speak a little Spanish and a little French, and it all kind of starts to come out at the same time. But this is our Piedmont trip. We're excited about it. I hope you guys will come and join us in one form or another. Hang out with Lisa and I and other folks. Lauren, maybe you want to go to Piedmont. Maybe your group wants to come. It's certainly built for the best. And the food and the wine will be spectacular. You'll love my hotel selection. And our tour operator, she's the best in Piedmont. We've worked with her about 7 times. And we have just a little 15-seater bus that's really comfortable. And so it's all family owned and operated, just really, really well done. And she knows everybody. She knows all the producers, know her, love her, and she's super. So can't wait to see you guys. I'm so happy that we're into July right now, but we are watching the world. We're still not out of the woods, of course. And if things get tough, we'll shut it down and refocus for next year. But we are optimistic around here, and we're starting to make some bigger plans. We're starting to plan our live events for later in the month and next month, and we're going to keep rolling them out. I had a meeting today with LA Magazine. We're planning our first outdoor tasting with LA Magazine. I'm so excited about that. It's going to be in October, and it's going to be a really big, fun event. And I'm kind of jazzed. So I thank you guys for joining me tonight. If anybody has any questions, just let me know. Satsuko, thank you. And if Lauren missed this Zoom, you heard me mention your voice a couple of times. He was having a hard time finding my Zoom link. I'm going to get you the video. All right? And take a look at the Zoom Into Wine website. You'll see all the past Zooms with all the different personalities on our archive down at the bottom of the web page, and you can watch them. There's probably now over 100 of them. We are doing 2 a week, and we'll have 2 this weekend with Stars of Pinot 1, Stars of Pinot 2, and then and we'll see you all soon. Lisa, I'll see you at Stars of Pinot.
Yes, you will. Ciao, everyone.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.